Hi there, welcome to today's video. I'm Jeanette with Vivo Vintage Designs. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. On this channel, we learn alcohol ink, watercolor, and other creative art projects together. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get started. Getting started with alcohol inks can be very expensive. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can just start with a few products and get your feet wet. So here I'm using Amazon Basics glossy photo paper, and I cut my sheets in half. That way you're not wasting paper. If you cut it in half, you're getting twice as much. And I have a set of just 3 alcohol inks. I have the Ranger hand blower, some 99% alcohol, and any blow dryer that you have on a low setting will work. So here you can see I've put down the blue. Now I'm adding some of the pink, and I'm making sure that I dry all the colors in between, and I'm using the other color, butterscotch, now. And it looks like a mess, but hold on, you'll see it come together. So now I'm using the 99% alcohol. You can also use 91%, but don't use anything lower. It has too much water in it and it won't work. So you can see that I put down a large amount of alcohol. I would say probably about a quarter size. And then I let it spread a little bit, and then I start blowing it out with the Ranger hand blower. And as I'm blowing it out, you can see that I'm going back and forth, and I'm making sure that each petal is completely dry. Once the ink reaches the edge of the paper, I'm using the blow dryer to make sure that the petal is completely dry all the way to the very end. So I'm going to go around and continue filling in with my petals. And one thing to keep in mind is that the more alcohol you use, the larger your petals will be. If you want skinnier petals, just use less alcohol. And if you start to get little fingers that from your petals that go off to the sides, just use the blower to blow them back into the petal. So here I'm happy with the way this flower looks. And I thought to create a center that looked as though it was in profile, but then I didn't like it. So you'll see that I start out with almost like a half of a center, and then I'll go back and make it round. But I'm using a cotton swab, and I added a little bit of the blue and then some of the pink, and it gives you kind of like a purpley color. And here I'm using some alcohol and a small paintbrush, and I'm just making sure that I don't have a lot of alcohol on the brush. And I'm dabbing it on my paper towel, and then I'm just dabbing it onto that center to create some texture. And this is, if you don't have the snow cap that you see me use in my other videos, this is just to get you started. So you don't need to spend a lot of money buying the pitch black and the snow cap and the airbrush and a ton of different colors. Just buy yourself a set of 3 colors, and you can create some beautiful flowers. You can play around with the hand blower, get used to it, and you, like I said, you can create so many different colors just using these 3 colors. Consider them kind of like primary colors. You can get secondary colors and so forth. So here I decided to make my center round. So you can see I'm adding a little bit of the blue and making sure that it's completely dry. And I'm going to use a little bit of that butterscotch on the paintbrush. Didn't really show up too much, so I decided to go back to the alcohol. And make sure that you don't have a lot of the alcohol on the brush, otherwise you get blooms. And that's not what you want. You want little dots. If you start to get a bloom, you can always dry it and then go over it. So here you see I'm adding now the butterscotch here and there, making sure that it's dry. And now I'm going back to, I believe this is wild plum, and I'm adding a few dots of that to the center of this flower. And I'll go back between the colors, adding more wherever I think I may need it. And there you have a really pretty and very colorful center. You can also buy the photo paper, and I believe it's 5x7, and that's what I'm working on here. So you don't have to buy full sheets, you can buy smaller. So I'm going to blow out another flower. I started with the pink and the blue in the center. I'm making sure that it's dry. I added the butterscotch on the outside. And now I'm going to use, again, a large amount of alcohol to blow out very large petals. And look at all the pretty colors. This one looks different than the first one. And it's really important to make sure that you dry your petals all the way before you start adding another one. Otherwise, it starts to come back onto the paper. It starts to kind of like roll back onto your petal, and it gives you these really ugly ends to your petals. And you'll learn that the hard way if you don't dry it completely. So I've spent a small fortune on alcohol ink. I think I have just about every color, and I have the airbrush. I have a lot of supplies. But when I first started, I wanted it all because I saw a lot of artists creating these beautiful pieces, and I thought if I had everything they had, that my flowers and my art would be as beautiful as theirs. So I did spend a small fortune, and you really don't have to. Of course, now after many years of experience, I've learned that you don't need to have everything you see artists have to get started. You can start with something as simple as 3 colors and a hand blower. And look how pretty this is. Look at all the different colors that are showing up out of just 3 colors. So now I'm going to create the center. I've poured some alcohol into my little shot glass, and I'm using my tiny little brush to dot around, and I'm creating the shape of my center. And I'm going to continue doing that until I'm satisfied. And if you like, you can get yourself some micro brushes. These are really, really inexpensive, and they're a lot easier than using the brush. I think you get 500 or 400 of them for about $6. And I reuse mine. So there's another savings. So you can see here that I'm just dotting with the micro brush to create my center. And it looks really pretty so far. And you can see that I'm blotting the micro brush also, again, making sure that I don't have too much alcohol on it. Otherwise, I'll cause blooms in the flower center. I don't think I mentioned this, but when you're blowing out flowers on a photo paper, be sure to use the matte side, not the glossy side. And your inks will flow very nicely. If you use the glossy side, it absorbs the inks and they won't move. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that you have found it helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Check out the description box for links to the products used, and check out our Facebook group, Vivo Vintage Design Tutorials, where you can post your versions of the paintings and techniques learned on this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.